What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Halo Effect podcast. I don't even know what episode this is, but in this episode, I'd like to talk about the market, share some information on what's going on in the real estate market, and also the benefits that buyers have right now in the market, and also relay some of the common fears, anxieties, and objections that I'm getting from some buyers, not all buyers, but some buyers. Um, and so diving right into it, we obviously saw a slowdown in the market recently with the rate increase. Rates at last year increased at a very fast pace. They went from 3.5% around February to March, and then all of a sudden they just shot up within the course of like 9 months. So from March, we were at 3.5, to November, December, we were sitting at about 7.25%, depending on the loan, the program that you could qualify for. And so typically when that happens in the market, and it's happened before, the market essentially feels some sort of shock, and less buyers can qualify for properties, and less properties sell on the market. However, in this market, we saw a slowdown as far as the average sales price and the amount of units closed last year compared to the year before, 2021, 2021, which was a crazy year, kind of like 2020 in the real estate world, right? It wasn't that much of a drastic change. And so when I look at those numbers, that lets me know that even in an environment with higher interest rates, people were still buying and selling homes. It always happens. People are still buying and selling homes, right? And so that just lets me know that in an environment when interest rates go back down, you can expect the demand and the buyer competition to go back up. Because what we have here in Denver and what we have nationwide overall is still a supply issue. There's not enough homes on the market for sale. And, when there's not enough homes, there's high demand, you have a lot of competition on the market. And so what we're seeing now, we definitely saw less movement in the fall time, winter time last year as far as transactions and the number of showings per property, the days on market that a property sat on the market was, higher, I believe 45, 50 days, depending on the price of the property. And what we're starting to see now, the beginning of January and end of January, is that mortgage loan applications have gone up 28%. We're starting to see multiple offer situations on properties, which means essentially that there's multiple buyers submitting offers on one property and essentially competing for that one property now again, which we didn't see that much the latter part of last year, right? We're starting to see properties that have been on market 1 or 2 weeks start to go under contract, which that wasn't the case the latter part of last year. We were seeing properties set on the market, if they were priced correctly, anywhere from 45 to 50 days before they received an offer. And that's if they were priced at the market price, right? If they were priced more aggressively, more strategically, and it was a good property at that point, and there was value in that property, those properties typically went under contract a lot quicker than 45 days. Right. And so that's what we're seeing on the market now, what I'm seeing now. I'm out on the field. You're not going to hear this on the news, right? This is exclusive information for anybody that listens to this podcast. The news isn't caught up with this information yet. Most of the information that comes out when it comes to real estate is always a month behind, right? Because the activity happens, then it gets reported, right? So the news doesn't have this information yet. This probably is not going to come out until February, March, and by that time, people have already been submitting offers and buying properties before then. And so essentially what I'm saying is that right now there is still some negotiating power from buyers when it comes to properties. You're still able to negotiate price and seller credits to help with closing costs. However, that's not going to last long, especially if rates continue to go down a little bit. Once spring rolls around, a lot more people get excited about buying properties. They start feeling a lot more in the mood to go out there. The weather is warmer. People are starting to get out. And so a lot more people get motivated. So buyer psychology is something that has to be talked about and accounted for, because buyers tend to want what other people want, right? So that's why it's very important to work with a professional that looks at situations objectively. We're able to look at the numbers and really what's going on in the market, right? But what I'm saying is that if you're able to buy, if you want to buy in 2023, and you're able to buy before spring, meaning you're financially and emotionally and psychologically ready to buy a property and or sell your property, do it before the spring. More so buy, right, your property. Do it before the spring. Now, I do want to talk about the market on the sell side as well, right? Because one thing I mentioned is that there's no such thing as utopia real estate. There's never going to be a market that benefits everybody. There's never going to be a market where everybody wins. You typically have either a buyer's market or a seller's market. Sometimes you have a balanced market, but I haven't seen it happen. Granted, I've been in the industry a couple years, going on 4 full-time years, but I have done research on previous markets as well. And even then, in a balanced market, you need 6 months worth of homes for sale on the market to be able to have a balanced market. So that's a lot of homes. We're talking about 25,000 homes on the market at one time, which we haven't seen here in the Denver metro area for years. So, when it comes to selling a property, you want to make sure it's priced correctly. You want to make sure the photos are nice, it's staged. You want to make sure that there's a strategy behind the pricing, behind the showings, right? You want to make sure that there is a plan to be able to sell your home for top dollar in this market. Now, the sellers typically want to list in the springtime because they think that there's more demand at that time. There's always a lot of factors that go into that, right? Where are interest rates at that time? How much competition? How many other people are listing at the same time in your neighborhood? Because if there's 5 properties in the same neighborhood that are selling, that could take away from your buyer pool, and there's more competition on the market for you at that time. And so what I would recommend in this market for sellers is to get ahead of the spring curve, because I've talked to a bunch of sellers since last year. A bunch of sellers withdrew their property. They took it off the market to relist in the spring, right? So you're going to have more competition in the springtime. So if you can, there's going to be a nice little window, I believe, after the Super Bowl and before, let's say, middle of March, end of March, to where you can really put your property on the market and not have to compete with a ton of sellers, because a lot of sellers won't be putting their property on the market at that time yet. They're more so thinking end of March, April, May, and so the benefit that a seller would have in that pocket is that buyers are still going to be out on onto the market, right? You're still seeing, you may see interest rates drop more, influencing more buyers to get on the market. And so, get some buyers to compete for your property, get the offer that you're looking for, and then at the same time go out and look for your replacement property with not that much buyer competition as you'll find in the springtime, right? So keep that in mind. I think that's a good window right there. If we look to list in April, end of March, April, May, um, you risk the fact of having more sellers on the market to compete against. Yeah, there may be more buyers, but there's also going to be a lot more listings, right? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. At the end of the day, pricing your property correctly is super important, and just working with the right professionals so you have the right guidance and information to make the best decision for yourself and your family. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Just wanted to provide a market update of what's going on right now in the market. Um, Also wanted to let you guys know that I'm currently working with investors who are cash buyers who are looking for, properties, and sellers that are looking to sell their property quickly, 2 to 3 week closing, cash. If you know of any sellers that find themselves in a position where they own a distressed property and they don't have the means or the resources to fix this property and ultimately just want to sell the property, let me know. Happy to provide a solution to those sellers and those homeowners as well. With that being said, guys, I hope that this information was beneficial. If you have any questions about anything that I just relayed over in this podcast, be sure to let me know. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you share this episode with somebody who may be thinking of selling and buying here this year. So with that being said, thank you for hopping on, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.